Now, many people think that successful individuals just have a life where everything goes their way. So if you look back, both personally or professionally, what's been your greatest setback and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I think that my greatest setback, first of all, I've had tons of setbacks during my career, and I think most people who are, deemed quote-unquote successful do, but probably the biggest one is when I made the decision to go launch the newspaper early in my career. At one point, since we really didn't know what we were doing at the newspaper and we were starting from scratch, I was 23 years old. I was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I financed it all myself. I sold my car, my mountain bike, my surfboard, and used all my credit cards and taught myself how to program. And basically, the business almost went out of business. And so at one point, what seemed like a crushing amount of debt and a crushing amount of failure, frankly, in the business, it really made me make a decision about whether or not you just give up or you keep going. And I remember reading the Boston Globe one morning, and probably at the depth of lowest point during the newspaper business, and there was a great quote from somebody. There was an article about how handicapped people overcome adversity, and there was a quote in there I used to carry around in my wallet for years that basically said, the world doesn't owe you anything. You have to get up, and every single day you have to continue and improve yourself and to grow. And I felt really bad for myself with the newspaper business at that time period, and I read that quote, and it just hit me right between the eyes, and I got up that morning and said, you know what, regardless of what happens, I'm always going to keep pushing forward. And I think, it was a great lesson for me, because every single piece of success or every single failure I've had, success and failure are two sides of the same coin, and the most important thing is actually to just keep moving forward and keep going. And I think that one thing that's been amazing about my experience at AOL is AOL was a company that wasn't doing well, and we've gotten it to be doing better. We can do a lot better in the future, I think, but it's been a real amazing thing to watch, thousands of people at this company basically get up every morning and just improve a little bit every day. And I think that failure only takes you down when you give up. And I think when you don't give up on failure and you keep moving forward, it's a really powerful thing to learn in your life. And you don't want to wish failure on anybody or on yourself, but it's also probably the biggest things you learn in life come from the things you fail at.
And many times, your greatest success becomes a result of how you dealt with failure.
Yeah.
When you look at your greatest success now, and notwithstanding that there's a lot more to come in the future, what would you say it was?
The greatest success, I think, really comes down to trying to be myself. I mean, I think that for all the things that have happened in my career, some of them have been great, some of them have not been great. I've had one simple philosophy, which is when I go to bed at night and I put my head on the pillow, I want to be really honest with myself for mistakes I made, to apologize for them, and for successes that we've had is to really recognize the people who have driven the, success. And I feel like I have a personal mission statement I use in my life, which is really about making as many people as I possibly can successful. My family, people I work with, those things, and that's really what drives me, and it's something that I personally live by. And I really think success for me has been staying focused on my family. Had a huge influence. My parents growing up on me about values and and hard work and ethics and those things. And I've tried to stay as true as I can to that overall. And I think that's probably been the best success that I'm most happy with overall.
Great insight. Now, as you look forward, you've been a change agent most of your career. Looking ahead, what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, one of the things that I think is harder as you go on in your career and as businesses get successful, and we've talked a lot about this internally at AOL, is you tend to take less risks. And nobody wants to have any success go to failure. So the more success you have, the less likely you are to take future risks in many cases. And one of the things I look forward to actually is I think actually we've taken a lot of risks at AOL, and a lot of them have worked out well. But I think at a bigger scale, I hope we take even more risks in the future. And I think when you think about where we are as an industry right now and where we are as a company, the reality is there's going to be billions of people more connected to the internet. Everyone's going to have a high bandwidth machine in their pocket, which is a smartphone. And the ability for human beings to have an impact with each other and across the whole industry is going to be, 100 times in the future what it is today. And I think the challenge is, where we look at where you are today, it's hard to imagine things 100 times bigger, 100 times faster, better, those things, but I think we have to live in that world. And if you think about the world that way, I'd say that our future success is going to come from taking really substantial risks, towards the future. And I think just the older you get and the more successful you are, the less you want to take risks, but it's probably the secret to keep, having more success in the future is being okay with taking risks.